Record. Okay. Hi, Fikile, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself, Tando?
I'm good, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
I've already introduced myself. I am I am what do I say? Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, so I'm a 25-year-old, very fun-spirited, travel enthusiast. I am currently an admitted attorney, and I am an associate at Fluxmans Attorneys.
Nice. Congratulations on all those titles.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can you tell us what you studied and where?
All right. So I did my 4-year LLB. I studied at Wits University from 2017 until, no, sorry, from 2014 actually until 2017.
Okay. And like, how would you describe like your process of applying for articles? Did you apply second year, third year, fourth year? When did you apply?
Oh, jeepers, my experience in applying for articles was actually a very hard one. I won't lie. So I started applying for articles in my third year, actually beginning of my third year. In my first and second year, I thought, let me just give myself time to really understand what is going on in my degree program before I even try and start securing articles.
Yes.
And I started in my third year. It wasn't really easy because, as you know, most firms look for, good marks. Basically, they look for someone who's very, strong academically. And I mean, I wasn't that academically strong, but I was okay. So, I got a, bit of rejections here and there. And I started, widening my scope in my applications because I'd been applying to what we know as our big five firms. And I started looking at your medium firms and your small boutique firms. Um, and it was there actually where I actually got an opportunity to secure interviews. And I think in my fourth year of my LLB, sorry, that's when I actually got articles at Fluxmans Attorneys. I got offered articles, which is a medium law firm in Rosebank, and yeah, and that's how how it went to the beginning of articles.
And like, would you say, like, in terms of, so you say you're like a medium term student, like what would you say the bigger law firms were looking for, like in terms of marks wise, like going up, in your opinion?
In my opinion, as I said, I think they were looking for candidates who were really, academically strong. So if you're your A and B students, so so if you're getting your 80% and your 70%, I think you stood a better chance of securing an interview or securing back work for that instance. Whereas if you were your C grading student, it was a bit difficult.
That makes sense. And what would you say is like the benefit of a medium term, or a medium sized rather, or a small sized firm?
Sure. The benefits are just, there's so many actually, thinking about it. But I think the one that has stood out for me is, the close interaction and that you have with the directors, and how they are able to give you that, one-on-one learning experience. I mean, in my firm, for instance, there's an open door policy with all the directors. So if you want to ask something about a legal matter you don't understand, they're always willing to sit you down, guide you in terms of how to approach a particular matter. And I think that was very, for me personally, that was very, very important, because the only way you can learn is by, getting one-on-one experience with someone who is who has the expertise or the knowledge to teach you. So I actually absolutely loved that.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't necessarily get that interaction in a bigger law firm because, it's
Mm.
this, it's so busy, etc., etc. And then in terms of your interview process, actually, let's start from the beginning, like application wise. So if someone wants to apply, like what do they do?
So, I mean, I'll just use myself in as example for now. But when I decided to start looking at small and medium law firms, what I did is I did some research first to say, what am I actually looking at? Where do I want to go? It's sometimes it's easy for people to know what they want to specialize in, and some others still want to discover. So it's very important to look at what the law firm specializes in, and whether it's something that you're willing to take on and learn in. So I looked at what the law firm specialized in. I looked at the dynamics as well, because some of the websites kind of gave you an insight in on how the culture is in that specific law firm. Does the culture suit me? Will I be able to, get along with the people? Will I be able to learn? Will I be able to grow? And I then, after that, from looking at that, just wrote a list down as to where I wanted to apply, and then calling them, because some of the smaller law firms don't advertise articles, on
Mm,
the website. You need to phone and ask, are you looking for a candidate attorney, and so forth. And so that's what I did. So in some of them I called, some of them I was lucky enough to find, posts on their website. And I would then, if I called, I'd ask for email addresses, and I would forward my CV to them. And for the others that had the post on the website, I'd just follow the instructions as per the website.
that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I know we went to career days, but like what other mechanisms would you say people can use to find the medium or the small law firms? Like, is it Google? What is it? Asking people?
Um, I think Google is the first one. Sorry, Google is like, in as much as you hate it, you love it as well, because it does help in some certain instances.
Yeah.
Um, so just taking your time as well through Google, not just looking at the name of the law firm and then just deciding that you want to apply, going into the website, reading the website, what they're about, and also speaking to people, because you'll be very surprised what you can get from people as well. Asking people who are in their articles, who know of people who are in smaller law firms, and that's also very, very helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then in terms of like preparing for the interview, what were you doing?
Um, so for the interview, I try to balance everything. So not just look at law related material or go over certain cases, but also just to know what's going on in the world as well. Current affairs, watching the news, watching a certain, probably, if you're not a person who is into documentaries about certain social issues, probably just you know look into it, research into it, find a social issue that you gravitate towards, and just do a little bit of research in that. So I did a bit of legal, a little bit of current affairs, and a little bit of just social issues, just in case they ask me ask me a question in relation to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of your CV, like, coming out of varsity, you don't really have much of a CV. So like what would you
Mm.
say needs to be in there, and like what sort of, things do people need to look out for in your opinion?
Um, you know, as you're saying, when you step out of varsity, you don't really have much of a CV, because it's just, high school and varsity. And but I mean, always it's very important, in as much as you want to have a very detailed CV, to keep it a short, striking, concise CV. So basically, have a short description of your strengths, your weaknesses, aims, objectives, and then also just add in certain interesting things that you think are valuable to put in there. Whether you've done community service, whether you've been, part of a program that has helped enrich people, whether you've done any extracurricular activities, that have enhanced, your abilities, I guess, or have strengthened your love for law or your knowledge for law. And usually those come in handy, because they can ask you questions based on that. And also it just shows how you've got a balanced life, and that you're not only focused on your studies, but you're able to do something outside of school.
That makes sense. And how, I mean, most people also have like a misconception that, like, if you go to a medium-sized firm, you'll only be paid like R2 or something like that. And how would you advise people with that, with your medium and smaller firms?
Yeah. To be honest with you, when you go into a medium or a smaller law firm, you need to know and understand that you're not going to be paid as much as people who are in your bigger law firms. And at the end of the day, I think my approach was, um, you know, I'm here to gain the experience, to gain the knowledge, to learn.
Mm.
Because leaving varsity, it almost comes as a shock as to how things operate in the workplace, and you really take that as a learning opportunity. So some of the medium firms do pay well, but you need to keep in mind that you're not going to be getting a very lavish salary, if I can put it that way. And if you're planning to get a place, get a car, wait till you sign a contract, wait till you see your gross salary, and just try and work around that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of just like, so you've done the preparation, you've done all of that, and then you go into the interview. What sort of questions were you asked? And how much did your preparation assist in that?
My preparation assisted a lot. They ask more personal questions, actually, than they do legal questions. I think for them, we've seen the marks. We just want to know who you are, and whether you've got, you fit into our culture. And they asked me a lot of personal questions, and as well, my thought process behind selecting the modules I was doing in my final year. So why those particular modules, and I mean, the typical questions as well, where you see yourself in 5 years, um, why us? And that's how I cannot emphasize why it is important to really research the firm you want to go to, and not just apply. Because when the why us comes in, you can really explain it, not from a legal or generic perspective, but you can say from a personal perspective. And yeah, I mean, it was, I think that they actually asked me one legal question, but the rest was really personal. And also, as I was saying, social issues that sit close to my heart, and so forth.
And then what, so the 2 years of articles, like what can people expect in terms of that? Like in terms of the workload or what to do? And can you also explain maybe to people who don't know, like what articles are for?
Mm. So I think I'll start off with explaining what articles are for. After your 4-year LLB, or after you've done your university legal studies, you need to do 2 years of what we call practical vocational training, or in simpler words, practical training. I always used to tell people that, no, I'm not a lawyer. It's an internship, because that's the best way to explain it.
Yes.
In those 2 years, what you really do is that it's an array of things. Besides the fact that you are serving your articles and you're learning how to become a legal practitioner and how to, run your matters, and you're really getting a feel of what the legal fraternity is about. How to draft pleadings, how to, deal with clients, how to, do court proceedings. You also have your, what they call PLT classes. Those are classes that you attend that are there to basically equip you to
Train your
write your
soul.
board exam.
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't have said it any better, actually.
Yes.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
Yes. So you basically, in between doing your articles, you also attend your classes, and that is basically to equip you to write your board exams. And your board exams are basically to see whether you are knowledgeable enough to be admitted as a legal practitioner. Do you know what you're doing? Do you understand what the legal fraternity is about? What to do, what not to do? Can you draft? And a bit of unnecessary other exams that you write, but
Like
I mean,
bookkeeping. Yeah.
yes, precisely.
Yeah.
The 2 years of articles are not easy. I don't want to lie and say that they're easy and that they're a walk in the park. They're really not. And I think starting off, the first 6 months are your hardest months, actually,
Yeah.
because you're trying to, get used to, you know, working, basically. If you've never
Yeah.
worked before, this is your first job. You're really getting used to working, and also having to work and attend classes and balance all of that, comes a bit, strenuous. But it's not easy, in the sense that you must be, you know prepared to learn, and you must be, willing to be open
Mm.
to learning anything and everything. And also, just being resilient, because sometimes it's not that you don't know the work, and you don't have knowledge of the law, but it's the work pressure, it's the amount of work, it's the people you encounter, during the working phase. So it's almost being like hit by a wave, and having to then be able to stand up quickly and get yourself. I think it's very important to walk into articles with with an open mind, and
Yes.
don't take it as, I always say, don't take your articles as, a real job. Take it as learning. Take it as learning. You are there to learn, and it's okay not to know certain things. It's okay to ask, and it's okay, to find your feet, and find, what it is that you really like. Rotate departments. If there's a rotation procedure, rotate, departments. See what you like. See what it is that works for you, what doesn't work for you. And honestly, be resilient, and also just try and create a schedule that allows you to also get enough rest, because that's something that you don't get a lot. So if and when you can, just always try to take some time off to recoup and,
Yes.
re-energize.
Mm, I agree with that fully. And then in terms of like admission now, so you've done the 2 years, you pass all 4 board exams, and then what's the process in getting admitted?
Okay, so as soon as I mean, the highlight of it all is being done with boards and actually being done with articles, because that
Yep.
that says it all. It's there for you.
Yes.
So once you're done with that, you don't just automatically get admitted. Unfortunately, I would love for that to be the process,
Yeah.
but it isn't.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, make an application to the court to be admitted as a legal practitioner. And in that application, basically, you set out where you've studied, how long you studied, where you did your articles, if you've seeded articles, you need to mention that as well. You need to mention that you've done your board exams, you've passed all four, you've served your 2 years of articles. How did you serve your 2 years of articles? What did you learn in your 2 years of articles? So there's just a lot of things that you need to cover, because usually when you draft the application, you need to draft it in accordance with the provisions of the Legal Practice Act and the relevant regulations and so forth. But I don't want to get into that. But
Yeah.
it's just an application that basically sets out that you've done everything in accordance with the act. You've gone to school. You've served your time basically, and that you are what they deem a fit and proper person to become a legal practitioner.
And in terms of how long it took between your application and when you got a court date, how long was that?
Yeah, okay. It took a bit of time because there's a backlog in the courts, with admissions. I think at the beginning of the year, when people, hear that, they've passed and they're done with their articles, they immediately, just apply to get admitted. I applied sometime in February, and I only got a date for May. So so there's 2 to 3 months, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
between.
March, April.
And it's
Yeah,
also
3 months.
because there's other, certain formalities that need to be ticked, like your application lying open and, at the LPC for inspection and so forth. So they also make provision, time provisions for that. And if you need to supplement your affidavit, if there's something that you missed out, they also make time for that. So it's always just, 2 to 3 months.
That
I
makes
don't
a
know
lot of
what it's
sense.
like now because of COVID, but back then when things were normal, it was 2 to 3
Yeah.
months.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the last thing is, like, in terms of, just you getting retained, what does that process look like in a medium firm, or where you particularly are? And then also, like, what are the hours like? Like, because I think that's also something that people must know. I know in a bigger law firm, they're brutal, but I think just in law in general. But yeah, tell us more about those two things.
Okay, so with retention, I think when I was looking for articles, the one important thing for me
Wait, sorry
was
to
the
cut you.
retention. Yeah.
Retention is the process by which, so after you do your 2 years of articles, the law firm will decide whether to keep you on a permanent basis or not, and that works different, like, in terms of each firm. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I looked at when I was applying was, what I asked during the interview really was what their retention rate looked like. It's very important to know, because you also want to, structure and plan your life in terms of, do I foresee myself being here for a longer period, or is it just the 2 years? Luckily where I am, they were very open for retaining people, because they take quite a small number, in your medium firms, as opposed to a larger number. They take a smaller number. And I mean, other factors do come at play, like your work ethic, how you gel with people. Do we see you here in the future? um, so, the retention is not as brutal, if I can say, as you said, in your bigger law firms, because, if for instance the intake is 5 people, chances are that out of that 5, 4 would be retained, or the complete 5 would be retained. And they always just look, because they always just look to also, try and keep people, because at the end of the day, they're a small firm, and they're also trying to grow, get people, manpower as well, to get people to do the work, get in clients, and so forth. So the retention rate is really not that bad.
Okay, and the hours?
Oh yeah, as you said, I mean, lawyering is lawyering.
I don't think people understand how many hours we put in. Yeah.
No, sure, no, I think people don't, they really don't understand. That for me, I could, it's inevitable. There are going to be long hours, and chances are that you're going to spend a lot of long hours, in the office doing work, and so forth. um you know the hours for me, it's not your normal 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is really 9 to 7, 9 to 9, or even sometimes till the next day. You never know. uh, but you know uh, the hours were, I don't want to say okay, but you must be ready to know that there will be a lot of long hours. Sometimes, you are going to be working, on the weekend. You're going to have to, sacrifice your weekend, even though you don't want to, but you're going to have to. um, what I like about where I am currently is that, we do have long hours, but if you feel like, you've had one of those days where you've worked the entire week for, you know 3 to 4 days consecutively, leaving late, you can leave early, take a break, just leave slightly earlier than you do. um but yeah, the work hours are hectic. um be mentally prepared for them, and also, as I said, always take a break and recoup and re-energize when possible.
Love that. Thank you so much for doing this. I think it will help a lot of
Your pleasure.
people on their journey. And yeah, I would definitely advise them to start looking to apply now. I will put the link below, and then yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, and I'd also be willing to, if they're willing to apply for Fluxmans, or if they want any type of back work, they can always just go into the link, check it out. Is it for them? And I'll be willing to forward any details should they require to you, should they require any details.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, they must reach me. Then I must reach you. It's fine. You know, my email
The middle
address.
man.
My email address is on the channel, but it's tsundays@gmail.com. I'll also link it below. And then yeah, I'll forward any questions that they may have to you. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank